Back from the planer, I got these down to 1.5 inches thick. So we are now going to go to the table saw and cut these down to not quite our final dimension, but close to it. Over on the table saw, I got my square set up in this orientation to make sure that my square is perpendicular, or the table is perpendicular to the saw blade or square. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this fence for 1 9/16, which is 1/16 over 1.5 inches. So I'm going to get it just a little bit heavy. Then I haven't messed with the planer yet, so the planer is still set at 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is run this board through and then go over the planer, and then I'm going to plane my table saw marks off. That way I don't have any big table saw marks I got to worry about. So I'm going to do that to both boards and then come back to you. Okay, off camera, I cut these on the table saw. I didn't plane them yet, like I was talking about. So basically, I made this cut right here, this rip cut. I had this against the fence, that jointed edge. And then what I'm going to do with this board is I'm going to take this to the table, or the planer, this one here, and I'm going to flip it over to remove the table saw marks. So it's 1.5 inches square. Also, what I'm going to do is take this to the jointer and joint off any table saw marks. So when I rip it again and I put this edge against the fence, it has a nice jointed edge. So let me go ahead and do that. Maybe I'll just joint these ones first, rip them, and then go to the table saw, and then take them all over the planer and edge joint or edge plane those off. So might as well take you with me here. So all I'm doing now is going to edge joint these leg blanks so that we have a nice clean edge against the fence of that table saw. Nice and slow on this one. Okay, so with that done, we can go back to the table saw. Still set up at a 1/16 over 1.5 inches. From 1 9/16. I'm going to make those cuts now that I have that nice jointed edge against the fence. Now we go back to the planer And it's still set up for 1.5 inches, so you always want to double check that. On the camera, I'm not sure if it's going to pick it up or not, but we have these table saw marks. And we're going to edge plane off those table saw marks. So now we have our legs that are square. A little test you can do is to make sure they're even like this. Flip them 90. Make sure they're even. Make sure they're even. So we know that because the planer hasn't been adjusted, when I ran them through, they became 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches square. So one more check a square. Make sure it is square, and we're good to go. Okay, the next step is going to be to cross cut each one square like you've done in the past. We're going to go to the chop saw and square up one end of the leg. Okay, so you know the routine, just a little bit to make them square. Okay, with our square end, we're going to measure, excuse me, sneeze, no sneeze, maybe, okay, 28 inches. The old routine, we're going to put the pencil on the line, slide the square to the pencil. Use that one. I'll double check, make sure I got 28. Yep. So use this one to get my chop saw set up. Alright, that's good. Get my stop block set up here. Get my stop block set up so when I use that to gauge my next cuts. Double check my measurement. Yep. All right, so let's make sure there's no dust between the stop block and the board. Like it stops. Looking good. All right. So we have our legs at 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches this way and 28 this way.